Barnelium Bay, California, a peaceful lakeside community nestled along the shores of Lake Tahoe, where families come to heal, to find relief from chronic pain, to trust in the hands of a licensed medical professional. Between 1998 and 2002, 11 people walked through the doors of a chiropractic office seeking treatment. They came for healing. They left traumatized. The man they called Doc had turned his practice into a predator's paradise. Behind the diplomas on the wall and the professional white coat, Stephen Eugene Clifford was systematically abusing his patients, including a juvenile who trusted him completely. Welcome to Savage Case Files, where we expose the most shocking betrayals, brutal crimes, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Today's case. A licensed chiropractor who spent 4 years violating the sacred trust between doctor and patient, then vanished into thin air rather than face his victims in court. This is the story of Stephen Eugene Clifford, a man who used his medical license as a weapon and his professional authority as a shield. 11 victims, 4 years of abuse, one cowardly escape that launched a 21-year international manhunt spanning 3 continents. The FBI has been hunting him from California to Europe. The reward? $10,000. The question that haunts investigators and victims alike? How does a sexual predator stay hidden for over 2 decades when the entire world is looking for him? Born on November 22, 1953 in Sacramento, California, Stephen Eugene Clifford seemed destined for respectability. Standing 5'10" with strawberry blonde hair and piercing blue eyes, he possessed the clean-cut appearance that patients associated with trustworthy healthcare providers. Clifford established his chiropractic practice in Barnelium Bay, a tight-knit lakeside community where reputation meant everything. To his patients, he was simply Dr. Clifford, or Doc, titles that commanded instant respect and trust. Friends knew him as Gino, the affable healthcare provider who seemed genuinely invested in his community's well-being. His lifestyle painted the portrait of an all-American outdoorsman. Clifford spent weekends boating on Lake Tahoe's crystal waters, camping in the Sierra Nevada mountains, and taking long motorcycle rides through winding mountain passes. These activities gave him a rugged, approachable persona that patients found reassuring. But beneath this wholesome exterior, troubling signs emerged for those who looked closely. Clifford struggled with heavy alcohol consumption and had been prescribed lithium for underlying psychological issues. He displayed a nervous habit of constantly picking at his beard and facial hair, and visible scars marked both forearms from chronic eczema or psoriasis. His ability to speak French hinted at worldly sophistication, though few could have predicted how this skill would later serve his escape plans. In Barnelium Bay's small-town atmosphere, Dr. Clifford wasn't just another healthcare provider. He was a pillar of the community, someone parents trusted with their children's care. From 1998 to 2002, Stephen Clifford's chiropractic office became a chamber of horrors disguised as a place of healing. 11 victims would eventually come forward, each carrying the burden of betrayal by someone they trusted completely. Among them was a juvenile, a child who had no understanding that medical treatment should never include what Clifford was doing. Clifford weaponized his medical authority with devastating effectiveness. Behind closed doors in isolated treatment rooms, he convinced vulnerable patients that his inappropriate actions were simply part of their therapy. "This is normal procedure," he would tell them, using his professional credentials to silence doubt and normalize abuse. The victims faced an impossible situation. In a small community like Barnelium Bay, accusing the respected Doc of sexual assault seemed unthinkable. Many suffered in silence, questioning their own perceptions, rather than challenging a licensed medical professional. Others worried about being believed, knowing that Clifford's reputation in the community far exceeded their own. But courage has a way of spreading. One victim found the strength to speak up, then another, and another. A horrifying pattern emerged as law enforcement began connecting the dots. Each testimony revealed the same methodical abuse of medical authority, the same exploitation of patient vulnerability. As the investigation gained momentum, the community reeled from the revelation that their trusted healer had been preying on those who came to him for help. The men they had recommended to friends and family members had been systematically destroying lives for 4 years. As evidence mounted against him, Stephen Clifford made a decision that would define the rest of his life. Rather than fight the charges or maintain his innocence, he chose to plead no contest to 3 felony counts. His victims prepared for the moment they would finally face their abuser in court and deliver their impact statements. January 28, 2003. Sentencing day arrived, but Stephen Eugene Clifford did not. The courtroom sat empty where the defendant should have been. His victims, who had summoned the courage to confront their abuser, were left staring at a vacant chair. In one final act of cowardice, Clifford had chosen to run rather than accept responsibility for his crimes. The FBI moved swiftly. On August 4, 2004, the Eastern District of California issued a federal charge of unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. What had been a local case was now a federal manhunt, and Clifford had just made himself one of America's most wanted fugitives. Initial intelligence pointed south. Clifford had fled to Baja California, Mexico, where his boating experience and outdoor survival skills served him well. He blended into expatriate communities along the coast, using his knowledge of waterways and remote camping areas to stay ahead of authorities. But Mexico was apparently just the beginning. As the years passed, intelligence suggested Clifford had moved to Europe. His French language abilities opened doors in France, while Belgium's central location provided easy access to multiple countries. Canada also emerged as a possibility, close enough to feel familiar, yet foreign enough to complicate extradition. The FBI placed a $10,000 0-cent bounty on his head and added him to Interpol's Most Wanted Americans list. 21 years have passed since Stephen Clifford walked away from his sentencing hearing. The man who once terrorized patients in Barnelium Bay would now be 70 years old, yet his face still appears on FBI wanted posters and Interpol's international alerts. While he has lived decades of freedom, his 11 victims continue to carry the trauma of his betrayal. The juvenile victim, now an adult, has spent more than half their life waiting for justice. The other 10 survivors have watched their abuser evade consequences while they've struggled to rebuild trust in healthcare providers. Their courage in coming forward has been met with decades of disappointment as Clifford remains beyond the reach of American justice. Modern technology has transformed the manhunt in ways Clifford couldn't have anticipated when he fled in 2003. Facial recognition systems scan airports and border crossings. Financial tracking can follow digital transactions across continents. Yet these advances are matched by new methods of staying hidden. Cryptocurrency transactions, encrypted communications, and the ability to disappear into Europe's interconnected borders. The FBI's commitment to the case remains unwavering. Agents regularly update Clifford's wanted poster with age progression photographs, coordinate with international law enforcement agencies, and follow every credible lead that emerges. The $10,000 reward continues to generate tips from around the world. Theories about his current status vary among investigators. Some believe he's living comfortably under an assumed identity in France or Belgium. His language skills and decades of preparation allowing him to blend seamlessly into European society. Others suspect he may have died from health complications or accidents, his body never discovered in some remote location. The search for Stephen Eugene Clifford continues today. If you have any information regarding his whereabouts, contact your local FBI office immediately, or reach out to the nearest American embassy or consulate. The $10,000 0 cents reward remains active for information leading to his arrest. Your observation could be the breakthrough that finally brings this predator to justice. Where do you think Stephen Clifford is hiding after 21 years on the run? Is he living quietly in a French village, blending into Belgian society, or has he found refuge in the remote wilderness of Canada? What would you do if you recognized that strawberry blonde hair and those distinctive forearm scars in your community? Share your theories in the comments below. Your insight might provide the missing piece investigators need. Remember the 11 victims who trusted their doctor and received betrayal instead of healing. Their courage in coming forward deserves justice, no matter how many years have passed. The juvenile victim, now an adult, still waits for closure. The other survivors continue to live with the consequences of Clifford's crimes while he remains free. This has been another case from Savage Case Files, where we expose the most shocking betrayals and the relentless pursuit of justice. Subscribe now for more cases that reveal how those we trust most can become our greatest threats. Stephen Eugene Clifford thought he could run from justice forever, but predators can't hide indefinitely, and victims deserve their day in court. The hunt continues, and it won't end until he's brought home to face his crimes.